Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. I know everybody should be very busy today. We are all of us are extremely busy. I'm lucky that the folks behind me have able to take some time from their busy day to join us here today. So I will introduce everyone. I'll start with Sherry, who we're just saying seems to become a member of our team from the Deaf Action Center. I am Cynthia Lee Shang, the Jefferson Parish President. I'm joined by our Sheriff of Jefferson Parish, Sheriff Joseph Lapinto, our Director of Emergency Management, Joe Valiente, our Director of Public Works, Mark Drews, our Director of Drainage, Mitch Terrio, and they're going to all give you updates. Our Chief Administrative Assistant, Sarah Babcock. From Entergy, we have Patrick Hamby to talk about the preparations they're doing. From the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority East, Kelly Chandler. And from the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority West, we have Nick Calley as well as Scott Burke. Our Chief of our East Bank Consolidated Fire Department, Chief Dave Tibbetts. Our Director of the West Bank Fire Services, Brian Adams. Our Superintendent of Jefferson Parish Schools, Dr. James Gray, as well as our Council Chairman, Councilman Scott Walker. I did speak to Councilman Ricky Template. He is actually on Grand Isle. Councilman for District 1, Marion Edwards, is in his district. He is tying up some last-minute things and some meetings. We have Councilman from District 2, Dino Bonanno. Councilman from District 3, Byron Lee. Councilman from District 4, Dominic Impastato, and Councilwoman from District 5, Councilwoman Jennifer Van Rankin, as well as our Mayor of Gretna, Belinda Constant, and our Mayor of West Wego, Robert Billiard. So again, thank you all for being with us today. I know everybody is very, very busy. Today is a day that we should be spending making our preparations. So you should be canceling all of your other events and making preparations for this storm. All of our parish program has been suspended as of earlier today. All of our testing and vaccination sites stopped at noon. We will not have any activity this weekend, and our offices will be closed on Monday because we are completely in storm mode. I want to remind everyone, and what everyone is saying, do not focus on the center track. This is a major storm. It could flip at the last minute. We could be very vulnerable with just small degrees of change. So this is a major storm coming our way. Yesterday, I signed an emergency declaration so that we could be moving assets and pre-positioning some of our pumps. So that was done yesterday. So we will have a mandatory evacuation for those communities outside of the levee protection system. I've been on the phone with Mayor Carmodell and Mayor Kerner. So Grand Isle has been a mandatory evacuation as of 11 a.m. today, mandatory for Grand Isle, and also Lafitte, Lower Lafitte, Barataria, Crown Point, also under a mandatory evacuation. These folks are very vulnerable. They're outside of our levee protection system. They're very vulnerable to storm surge. So those are mandatory evacuation areas. If you are within the levee protection system, it is a voluntary evacuation. The first effects of this will be happening Saturday night. There is not a lot of time. Generally, where you are on Saturday night is where you have to hunker down and stay. So there is not a lot of time to do this. You need to be spending the day and coordinating with your family and making these decisions about what you're going to do for this storm if you're under a voluntary evacuation, okay? Obviously, you have to weigh the direct risks of the storm and where you're located with hurricane force winds, with the storm surge, heavy rainfall, widespread flooding. You also have to consider the secondary effects of a hurricane that happen that are not directly weather related, right? So electrical outages, if water is not available to you, if the stores are closed, the grocery stores, the drugstores are closed. All of those modern day amenities are not going to be available to you if you're somebody that vulnerable and needs to get out early. These are the considerations that you and your family should be weighing right now. If you are very vulnerable physically and you might need a doctor or medical community. Remember, our first responders are an incredible group of people, but they stop when the winds get to a certain level. They cannot go out and provide those services until after the storm passes. Just be aware, and these are, of course, the considerations that you need to be. How vulnerable are you? If these services are not available to you, you have to weigh that into your decision-making today, and you need to do it quickly. I'm going to give you an update on our public works, but we have our drainage and our Mitch and Mark here. But The good news for Jefferson Parish, we have 194 out of 195 pumps available. We are working very, very long shifts in our Public Works Department, in our Streets Department, in our Drainage Department, catching, cleaning our basins, picking up debris, monitoring those canal levels, ensuring all the tanks are topped off, the vehicles, the pump stations. We're pre-positioned pumps already in our lower lying areas, and ensuring, obviously, that all of our construction sites are secured. I have to give you a reminder that we are still very high with COVID. That is another layer that's on top of all of these preparations for this storm. Our hospitals at our high capacity. I've been to hospitals after a storm, and it's flooded with people that fell off of ladders, have a tree branch in their eye, all of these kind of other injuries that come after a storm. That is not the position we need to be right now. That is not the position that our medical community can handle right now. We have all got to be in a position of trying to help our medical community. They have their hands full dealing with COVID patients. We do not need to be able to give them any more, and we don't need any unnecessary injuries because of this storm. So please, I know if you decide to stay, and after the storm, people want their house back together immediately, please consider that. Be very, very careful. I would not want to be going to a hospital right now, and I don't think you do either. So let's just be very, very mindful of that, okay? So we know this drill, what we should be doing, clearing our catch basins in front of our house. We have good neighbors on every street that go up and down and clear those catch basins to give our drainage system, which is a very expensive system, very sophisticated system, the best possible way of moving water. So that's getting the debris out of those catch basins. You should be taking in your garbage cans and securing all your outdoor furniture and your grills and anything that could be high projectiles in the wind, tying down all those items. Preparing for electrical outages. My friend just texted me, are we going to have garbage pickup tomorrow? Do I start throwing food away? Yes, we will have garbage pickup tomorrow, so I'm sure she's emptying her freezer. Obviously, we live with a lot of open canals that are very, very hazardous during flood events. So remind everyone, sometimes when it gets flooded, you don't know where the road ends and the open canal begins. It is a very, very dangerous situation. And remember, the road repair can be hidden by water as well. You can damage your car, okay? So we want to remind everyone to avoid driving. It's to not cause a wake and cause property damage if you stay. And be very mindful of electricity and the dangers of that after a storm, all right? So secure your water if you're going to stay, your food, your medication, your flashlights, the first aid kits, the masks, all of those things, and start now talking to your family, communicating with your family, checking on vulnerable neighbors, checking on vulnerable relatives, monitor frequently the weather reports, and know what your evacuation route is, and have a second route as part of your plan. All right, some housekeeping events, as I've said. Garbage collection is going to occur tomorrow as scheduled, but all 4 Jefferson Parish drop-off sites and the residential drop-off site at the landfill are going to be closed on Sunday. Curbside and curbside garbage and recycling collection is also canceled on Monday, and there's going to be no makeup day. Again, I will repeat, our offices will be closed on Monday as well. We want to remind people, please do not put your bulky waste out on the curb. This is all dangerous during a storm. You just got to keep it and secure it until this storm is over. They will pose a risk and a hazard. We also don't need all of that garbage floating around in the streets, right? And then transit, at this time, we don't have any changes to our transit service. Our transit and our MITS buses, our medical buses are going to run as long as they can and as long as they're safe, and we'll let you know if they start to close. But right now, all of that is going to operate as planned until and as long as weather permits. And we want to encourage everybody to stay updated. You can get our text alerts, JP Alert, to 888-777. For our Spanish-speaking citizens, JP Noticias to 888-777. We want everyone to be safe and be mindful and be prepared. And as I said, pay attention frequently to your news and to all of your elected officials. So with that, the next speaker I want to introduce up is our Sheriff of Jefferson Parish, Sheriff Joseph Lapinto.